Nicholas was dead. It was 343 AD, and the town of Myra on the Mediterranean coast mourned the passing of its beloved bishop. They knew him for a man who loved children, loved the sea, and above all loved God. So many stories had surrounded him when he was alive. There was the story of him rescuing 3 innocent men from hanging just in the nick of time, stopping the executioner's sword just as it began to fall, and exposing a corrupt official who had taken bribes. And there were many stories of the great conflicts the bishop had fought with the pagan temple of Artemis in Myra, finally driving all of the demons from it in the name of Christ and uprooting the very foundations from the ground. Above all the rest, however, Nicholas was remembered for his special concern for seafarers and for his love of unselfish giving. They interred his remains in a tomb in Myra. It wasn't long before people were making pilgrimages to the tomb. In the manner of many people of the time, they did not make any distinction between asking a living person to pray for them and asking a dead one to intercede for them. Why not, they reasoned, ask someone who had a special interest or a special love of something to be their patron? Thus, many began praying for Nicholas to intercede in their behalf, knowing that he had a special love for children and sailors. Soon the church began the custom of singling out particular people as saints, or people who had lived a life devoted to God, a worthy example of holiness, virtue, or kindness and charity, someone who let God's love shine through them to the world. Bishop Nicholas had been that way long before his death. So Bishop Nicholas became Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas was the most revered saint in the church, aside from Mary, of course. His story spread with the spread of Christianity, and his example shone through the stories told of his life. From the tomb of the saint, a clear liquid began to seep. This liquid, called oil or manna, was collected and reportedly was miraculous in nature. This continues to this day. In the 1100s, French nuns began giving candy and gifts to needy children on December 6th, the feast day of St. Nicholas. During the 16th century, Protestant reformers attempted to eliminate the customs related to St. Nicholas. Martin Luther demanded that attention not be paid to Saint Nicholas, as he had become known, but to the Christ child. The word for the Christ child Luther used? Kris Kringle. St. Nicholas continued to be almost unknown in the New World until 1809, when Washington Irving published a book referencing him, not as a saint, but as a short, stout Dutchman with a clay pipe that came down chimneys to bring gifts. In 1823, 'twas the night before Christmas was published, and the image of St. Nicholas was forever fixed in our imagination, reindeer and all. It wasn't long before terms such as the German Sankt Niklas and the Dutch Sinterklaas merged into Santa Claus, and finally just Santa. And the red suit, added by artists for Coca-Cola in the 1930s. Yet behind all of this, there still is a real man who loved God dearly, served Christ with all his heart, and was beloved by God as well. And our story's not over yet. The old woman had never experienced times as bad as this. First one army, then another swept over the city of Kiev, each one stripping it further of any resources it had left. Her only source of comfort was when she went to the Cathedral of St. Nicholas every day to pray to God and to entreat the saint to watch over her son. Her son eventually became an officer in the army holding the city, but when the next army took control, all the officers were arrested and were to be executed. The old lady went to the church to pray. The next morning, the son returned home, dirty, beaten, and tired. According to him, he was among a group being led under armed guard to Pechursk, an area where Peter I had built rampant trenches. It was at these trenches that they were to be executed. They were nearing the destination when suddenly a little old man stepped out from around the corner. "Where are you taking them?" he asked the officer in command. The officer replied rudely, "To Dukhanen's headquarters." This was slang and meant that the prisoners were going to be shot. "Go away, old man." The old man left, but in so doing he took the old woman's son by the hand and said, "Let him go, I know him." No one paid any attention whatsoever as the old man led the old woman's son away. When they rounded the corner out of sight of the troops, the old man said, "Go home to your mother," and left. On hearing this, the old woman took her entire family to the church to give thanksgiving for the miracle. The son stared transfixed at an image of St. Nicholas, and ashen-faced turned to his mother and said, "Mother, that's the very same elder who led me to freedom." Times were hard for the churches in Italy under the fascists, particularly in the early 1930s, when the entire world was in a depression. "Is this all you have?" the unknown priest said to the monks at the Athonite monastery. "No more? There's only about 400 pounds of wheat here. This is December, and the harvest comes in July. How much will it take to feed you until then?" "About 14,000 pounds. "How many can you buy?" the old priest asked. "Not 1 pound." The monks were grave. The priest took a few kernels in his hand and prayed to God to bless them. He tossed them on the top of the pile. Then he asked God to bless the pile. He prayed for all 4 corners of the horizon, the monastery, and the sea. He prepared to leave. "Where do you come from? Stay and have some bread and olives." "I come from very far away, from Myra in Lycia." Then he left. The remaining 400 pounds of wheat lasted the monastery until the next summer when the crop came in. Father Elias Warnke didn't expect December 6, 1996 to be a life-changing day, a day that would border on the miraculous. He was wrong. Early that morning, about 6:30 or so, Father Warnke and Reader Timothy Tadros trudged through the winter snow to the Russian Orthodox Church of St. George the Great Martyr in Michigan City, Indiana. When they opened the door to the vestibule, they found the church filled with the scent of roses in the hot summer sun. They both began to search for the source of the fragrance, and when they opened the door to the nave, the scent became even stronger. "We opened the door to the nave, and the fragrance became even more powerful," said Warnke, "but not overbearing. It was like it was inside you, so that you felt it." Father Warnke turned on the lights, and when he looked towards the royal doors, he froze. "I saw that the icon of St. Nicholas that was on the analogian stand from Sunday's liturgy had 3 glistening streams pouring from it. My whole body became flushed and rigid, feeling as if my heart seemed to fall through the floor. Through my tears I said, 'It's St. Nicholas.' I could not even tell if it was me saying it. I seemed to be rooted to the spot, unable to approach the icon. After a few minutes of praising God for what he felt was a miracle, he approached the icon. The scent of roses was very strong. There were 3 streams of liquid coming from just above the eyes on the icon. One was going straight down, the other 2 to either side of the eyebrows. Father Warnke put on part of his priestly vestment and examined the back of the icon. It was dry. The icon itself was a paper reproduction, laminated with plastic and glued to a board. The liquid appeared to be coming right through the laminate. Determining that the liquid was the source of the fragrance, they placed cotton balls at the base of the icon to soak it up, which Father Warnke suspected to be myrrh. As of today, the myrrh continues to flow from this icon, defying explanation. I will show you a picture of it in a moment. Several miracles have been attributed to it as well. A woman was healed by touching Jesus' robe. Could God also use this substance and this icon as a healing vehicle? Can Nicholas, through something as paltry as a paper icon, still serve his Father in heaven? Through the haze of the centuries, we know the man named Nicholas to be one who loved giving, loved children, loved tending God's flock. Along the way, miracles have had his name ascribed to them, and many thousands have asked his patronage in times of distress. And here we are, presented with a chubby, jolly guy marshaling an army of elves to deliver gifts to every single child on earth on the one special night when we were given the greatest gift of all. Every child who knows the magic loves Santa, and every one of them knows that Santa loves them in return. I think that Nicholas would be immensely pleased. May you give this year in the spirit of Christmas, and may it infuse you every day of the year, just as it did Nicholas, the real one. And Nicholas, if you're truly watching, thanks for not letting us forget the very best parts of ourselves.